I think you had an essential insight into voice dialogue and how it could be taken into a completely new arena that it had never gone before. Can you talk a little bit about how we got from voice dialogue to Big Mind?
Sure. Well, what I saw was that knowing full well that within every one of us, we all have the Buddha wisdom, the Buddha mind, the heart of compassion, that's innate within every one of us. We all have that intrinsically. So what I thought was, well, if we can get in touch with the voice of, let's say, suppressed jealousy or disowned jealousy, why can't we get in touch with the voices that are not disowned but have never been awakened previously? So right. I was in a workshop, I was leading a workshop in Salt Lake City, and there was a young man who I knew pretty well, but just out of college, and I said, may I speak to Big Mind, please? And he said, yes, you may. And I said, all right, let me speak to Big Mind. And he said, I am Big Mind. And I said, I want you to take a moment and just settle into this Big Mind, being Big Mind, and tell me about you, Big Mind. And he started talking like it was the voice of the Buddha. I mean, everything out of his mouth was what you would read in the sutras. And I was like shocked. And I realized this young man who had very little practice was able to tap in to this ancient wisdom in a matter of an instant by shifting from identified with the self to identifying as Big Mind. And I knew I hit on something huge. But what I saw was that these aspects that have taken 10, 20, 30 years for people to have an enlightened experience could be accessed in a matter of an instant by having them make a shift. First it was a physical, then a mental shift, and then I dropped the physical. We don't even need that anymore. Just a mental shift to identifying with the transcendent, with these parts of ourself that are beyond the self, that are limitless, eternal, and endless, infinite, simply by asking to speak to them and getting permission. So in the beginning, I made a big deal about getting the self or the controller's permission. Even that I've found isn't necessary. As long as I know that the person can do it, somehow they're empowered by my trust that they can do it, and they can do it instantly. So, I mean, even our listeners right now, if I said, well, may I speak to the voice of Big Mind, and they say, yes, you're now speaking to the voice of Big Mind, and then take a moment to look in to just see if they can find any boundary, any limit, any edge to this Big Mind, and they will find, no, I am unborn, therefore undying, I am beginningless and endless, I'm eternal, I'm ever present, I'm here now, I'm not in the past, I'm not in the future, I encompass it all. And it's that easy and that accessible. And for some reason, this has eluded us for 2,500 years.